So, Pop Culture Universe is this amazing database we have in our library, and I want to quickly walk you through how you could use it to contextualize Disney's 1995 film, Pocahontas. So, first of all, if you look over here to the left, there's all sorts of cool information about the 90s. And you can look things up in a lot of different ways. For example, if you want to focus on the arts, you can click here and it shows different listings about the different kinds of art. So if you wanted to compare Pocahontas to other films, you could click here on film and it would talk about some of the big things that happened in the 90s in film. If you wanted to look at music, you could do the same thing there and look at sort of what was happening in music during this period. Another really useful tool is Everyday Life. Everyday Life is really cool because it looks at how people lived during this period and lots of potential topics there you could connect the movie to. The same is true of communications, actually, which gets into some really interesting related issues. Here's one of the really cool things that's going on in this piece. There's a set of writings about depictions of Native Americans, and they could give you some really interesting context to relate to Pocahontas. Down below, I wanted to point out to you the value of the timeline. There's a really cool timeline function of major events. And this to me is the most important thing there, the timeline. Because by running quickly through the timeline, you're reminded of big political and pop cultural events that happened in the years before or during when the movie came out. So there was everything in here from riots in LA in 92 to the election of Clinton to the TV show Friends debuting in 1994. There's just the Oklahoma City bombing in 95. There's all sorts of stuff going on here that, oh, look, there's the O.J. Simpson trial. There's all sorts of stuff going on here that you should review so you have a sense of what was happening in America when this came out. So really, the timeline is so important. I also really like this depictions of Native American events tool, and I like that you can explore the arts and everyday life. So those are key areas that I would recommend you explore as you do this. Sometimes, by the way, the media here, the photos and illustrations and political cartoons, politics and document it can be awesome as well because they can give you a sense, give you visual artifacts that you can do things with. So here you've got a movie poster. Over here you've got all sorts of different major kind of images from the period. So there's all sorts of cool things to play with. I could spend like a half hour just on this site. But if you think about it, again, to summarize, looking at the arts, looking at everyday life, scrolling down here, looking at ideas about descriptions of Native Americans, checking in most importantly on the timeline. Did I mention the timeline? And then also perhaps exploring photos and illustrations. I'm going to ask you in the discussion activity that follows you reading my lecture and watching the films, I'm going to ask you to find one thing in this database, one piece of information or context that you can connect the movie to, something you think helps us understand what Pocahontas is saying about American culture, particularly in terms of our interests related to race, class, and gender. Okay, see you in Canvas. Don't hesitate to reach out to me if you need any help with this. Thanks.